Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for August 25th. So, just a couple of pieces of housekeeping. First of all, anybody interested in a private reading, the information on how to connect with me for that is in the drop box below. And I'm currently booking October, the beginning of October. Secondly, this Saturday, there will be the weekly crystal reading. And next Saturday, there will be the crystal reading. They're going to continue, don't panic. But this coming week, I'm not going to be doing any videos. Unfortunately, I'm needing to fly to Toronto. There has been another passing in the family. And this one is a cousin that I was kind of really close to. She is very gifted. She's very talented in terms of these arts. And so as I was, kind of coming up, she was sort of the one who just said, well, this is normal. This is what we do. And this is, we have the capacity to do this. And so she holds a very special place in my heart. And so I will be off attending the goodbye for her. So, but right now, I want to take care. Hi, sweetheart. I have a little black cat there trying to say hi. Today, right now, I want to take a look at Trump and sort of by extension, the Trump family for the month of September. Because there's been this sort of funny gray cloud thing hanging around about September, something happening in September. And so I just want to take a look and see if we can drill down and get some information on that and see what the cards have to say. So, come on down. I have a question. Okay, so question is, what the heck? What's going on in the Trump family? What's going to be going on in the Trump family come the month of September 2021? Let's give this one more of those. And here we go. So I'm going to phrase it this way. Donald, family, September. Donald, family, September. Donald, family, September. Let's see what we see, shall we? Okay, so this is one of the really kind of interesting things about that group of people. They sort of believe, like right down to the bone, they believe that their wealth or their position or their status protects them. They believe that it protects them from sort of intrusion. They believe it protects them from the things that they do in secret. And it looks like come September, they're going to start getting a little bit more clarity about the fact that justice is coming for them. And that they really are going to have some explaining to do. And that's especially going to involve things, interactions, business deals, arrangements, etc., with, other countries or businesses in other countries. So it's going to be a bit of a wake-up call, I think, for these guys. And I think on some level, they're really going to start to understand that they're not sitting in a good place, and perhaps they have been blind to the obvious, and perhaps they just simply believed that they were so protected, nobody would dare come after them. And I mean, let's face it, right? This is a group of people. There are stories, for example, about Ivanka when she was in school, and if she was feeling picked on, or somebody did something she didn't like, her go-to was sort of like, "Do you know who my father is? Do you know how powerful he is? Do you know that he can destroy you?" It was that sort of condescending crap, but they all believe it. And to be fair, they've gotten away with it for forever. So you can kind of understand why they believe it. But that looks like it's really going to change. They're going to be sort of stripped bare in a way that they never have been before. They're not going to be able to spin it. Let's start with the fact that Jared and Ivanka have sort of really disappeared from the scene. They've gotten really quiet. And that's because they at least seem to have some understanding that this is going to be beyond their ability to spin. I also think that on some level, they really, really wish that, Donald would just stop. Because every time he opens his mouth, it gets worse. And, they are trying to sort of separate themselves a little bit from him. And so, he's annoyed with them, they're annoyed with him, and here comes judgment. It's barreling down on them, and they really, really, I think in some ways, particularly for them, they're going to actually really start getting some real clarity on exactly what that means for them legally going forward. I mean, you've got justice and judgment sitting on top of each other. That's like generally not good. It's not a great thing. And this is part of what's going on, is they don't understand the degree of information that is being compiled against them as a family, as a group. So whether it was things that went on in the Oval, whether it was things that went on from, a corporate headquarters, they just aren't sure. So this is the thing, right? In my opinion, they are so corrupt that, I mean, they would be hard pressed to narrow it down to a couple of things that could get them into trouble, because it feels sort of like almost everything can get them into trouble. So, there's that. And again, you've got members of the family who won't be quiet. And when they speak, they dig a hole for themselves. They make that hole deeper. And frankly, they come across sounding incredibly stupid. So you've got the dad who won't be quiet. You've got Junior who won't be quiet. And even Eric doesn't make a lot of sense, or when he talks, he's not really saying anything that is proactive in terms of a defense. Okay? Okay, it's not going to be good. September is going to be a very, very difficult month for Dad and for his children. There are going to be, I almost want to say, friction or tensions that start to bubble up, sort of start to come to the surface, because everybody is sort of in defense mode. And as for the spawn of this man, they haven't quite yet wrapped their head around the fact that he will toss them, to the ground and stomp all over them if it is going to protect his butt. So they still think that Daddy can save them, and Daddy can't save them because Daddy's going to be very, very busy trying to save himself. There's so much stuff going on with him, right? I mean, he just recently I saw something, he's being forced to pay back some $13 million to somebody. Sorry, don't know, can't remember who or why, but those kinds of things are not, good news. He doesn't do well in any of his court cases, and it just it feels like everybody's kind of going to go to their corner. Everybody is going to be defensive, and everybody is starting to become kind of paranoid about the other members of the family and what that might look like, or what they might or might not do. And honestly, I see, sort of medical issues coming from the stress of it and the strain of it, the worry and the anxiety. Now, I'm not suggesting that somebody's going to drop dead, but it feels like, this is the thing, when you're anxious and that keeps getting fed, you become more and more anxious. When you are spinning out of control and that continues to get fed, you spin faster and harder. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about, is everybody's almost like going to hit kind of extremes. And, truly, there is a lot of, I wish we could go turn back time, because if we could turn back time, we would have, shanghaied that man, wrapped him up in a cocoon, and never let him do this, never let him have run for that office. Because what they saw, well, first of all, they saw it as a publicity stunt. Okay, so let's just start there. They thought that was going to bring them additional abundance, additional name recognition. It was going to be the best branding exercise of the corporation. Instead, they ended up in a position where they literally have been sort of segregated from everybody, right? The only people that remain close to them are sycophants of the highest degree, okay? But their social standing has diminished. Their wealth is diminishing. And maybe diminishing isn't the right word. Perhaps what I'm trying to say is in jeopardy. And there's sort of a sense of, wow, that really went off the rails. That is not at all what was supposed to happen. And make no mistake, there was an awareness, from election night, that he was really ill-equipped for the job he had just been elected to. They knew he wasn't going to be good at this. That's part of the reason that they tried to cram, Jared and Ivanka, for example, into the White House, because they were supposed to be, the guardrails. Unfortunately, he became so enamored with himself, sort of so drunk on his power, that he was completely beyond their ability to control. Not to mention the fact that they aren't very smart. And so the whole thing was above and beyond their actual ability to comprehend or understand. Because if you take somebody who really, for the most part, is apolitical, and you dump them into the most powerful position in the country, and, his spawn, they don't know what the hell's going on, right? And so there was a lot of just gut reaction. And, as an intuitive, I kind of place a fair amount of, trust in gut reactions. However, when those reactions are not backed up or surrounded by knowledge, intelligence, broader clarity of the situation, what you end up with is sort of a bit of a disaster. So let's sort of refocus back onto September. So you have the 5 and the 6 of Wands here. Now, it's interesting because this, of course, is representing the squabbling, the infighting, the arguments. It's very loud. Because I step into that energy, it's loud. There's like a lot of yelling and screaming and door slamming, and it just does, and there's a lot of whispering, right? So Ivanka's talking to Junior, and Junior's talking to Eric, and Jared's talking to Eric, and right, there's like a lot of whispering going on behind the scenes, and all of them are talking to Dad because they're trying to jockey themselves into position. Now, the Six of Wands is a really great card, but I'm reading it as if it is reversed. So this is telling us that there is failure coming. There is a laziness that they're going to pay for. There is an arrogance that they're going to pay for. So what they thought was clever and smart, and this includes Dad, is really going to sort of backfire on them. And so it's going to become a very turbulent month and a very kind of difficult month. It feels sort of as if the walls are starting to close in. You know, and there he is in the center of it all. He keeps walking closer and closer to the edge of the cliff. And his and his little puppy here, okay. You know, usually it's sort of like the little puppy is trying to save the fool. But in this case, I actually see the little puppy encouraging him and yapping and really encouraging him to jump. And so who is this? This represents the people who are in his circle, the people who go to rallies, the people who travel with him to rallies, the people who attend rallies, the people who are still trying to enact his agenda behind the scenes, the people who most of them actually understand that this whole notion of him being like magically reinstated is a fool's errand, but they keep talking the talk because that's what he wants to hear. And so because this card is showing up for September, it's not just representing him, which it very often does, but this also feels as if he's getting closer and closer to an edge that he is not going to almost prevent himself from walking off of. And it's a very, very long drop. It also feels like he or the corporation is going to sort of be found out. There's going to be something else coming down the road in terms of trouble for the company. Okay, and I don't know whether that's Trump.org or maybe it has something to do with the Kushner family, but there's definitely a situation where something else is coming up that is really, going to put them in the defensive mode. Okay, they're going to once again be feeling like they have to push back. So they're going to do everything in their power to hold on to what they have. You can come in. Hold on to what they have, juggle things to make it look better. But let's remember, okay, the Donald is selling off his assets piece by piece by piece, right? I mean, he's trying to get rid of his planes. He's trying to sell this. He's trying to renegotiate that. He is not going to be able to bring in enough money to actually save himself, which means he almost in some ways has to hold on very tightly to what he has, except he can't afford to hold on very tightly to what he has. So there's definitely that going on. And again, it looks like there's going to be another piece of really bad news or something that legally just creates a bit of another issue for him or another problem for him. And at a point in time, when they need more than anything to find balance, to be calm, to be rational, to shut up, they're going to be so driven by their fear of loss of income, their fear of losing losing assets, that they're not going to actually handle it very well. They're going to become more stressed, more agitated. And, you know, that always breeds more of that. Okay. For any of you who are just wondering, there's some noise going on in the background. Just ignore it. It's just my daughter. She's just needing to get a few things in the kitchen, and she's just tootling off. So don't be concerned. Okay, so yeah, it's not going to be good. And you know, this is the thing. They're so deluded. They live in this kind of fantasy world where they can't be touched, where they are protected, where their money will get them what they need. And you know what? It doesn't look like that's accurate. Okay. Okay. So interesting, because it feels as if they're going to have a little bit of kind of good luck, but it's something that is going to be short-lived. Okay, so something's going to happen, and they're going to think, okay, great, we've grabbed the narrative, and we're turning this around so that we are telling the story. We are getting the information out there that we think is going to help us. And then they discover that, in fact, the information that got out there is not helping them at all, but in fact is putting them in an even more precarious situation, and one that kind of, you know, anybody else probably would have seen the writing on the wall, but they're not real good at that. So it feels as if there's going to be, you know, I don't know, maybe there's just a rally that is really well attended, gets a lot of, you know, good publicity, and then, I don't know, a riot breaks out and people are hurt or worse. It's that kind of an energy where it's like, it's going to start off and they're going to think, okay, this is the thing. And then as it unfolds, geez, it's not the thing at all. And it just creates a lot of sorrow and pain and difficulty and defeat. And loss. And that sort of need to walk back or walk away. I'm sure by now all of you have heard about the booing that went on at the Alabama rally when Trump suggested that people just might, want to consider getting they're vaccinated. You know, and he sort of very quickly walked that back. You know, he said, well, I've gotten vaccinated, you know, and then he made some flippant comment about it. If it doesn't work, you know, you guys will be the first to know. So I think he was attempting to refer to himself as, you know, if it doesn't work for him. But it was not well received. And then he immediately sort of backtracked to the old, well, of course, you know, I completely respect your right to freedom, and, you know, I respect your right to, you know, make your own choices. But it's a bad thing when his base, you know, starts booing at him when he says anything that is even slightly different from the crap he has been spouting since, you know, November. Also, you have probably heard that the results from the Arizona audit are going to be delayed because the guy who owns that Ninja whatever company that's doing the audit, he is actually apparently quite sick with COVID. So there's just a lot of stuff going on that I don't know. And, you know, this is the thing. They're not going to. When I step into the energy of the results of the Arizona audit, it's very, very similar to the energy of the symposium. Okay, there really is that sense that, you know, not going to go quite as amazing as you think it's going to go. All right, now I'm going to take a quick look. Since we're looking at September, I want to take a quick look at the that Washington rally. I guess that is being planned. I believe it is September 18th. And this is I don't know, a march on Washington, because this is the one where they're protesting the conditions with which the political prisoners are being subjected to, and so I don't know, I guess maybe they think they're going to be able to, like, I don't know, boot Biden out of office and take control of the Justice Department and just open jail doors all over. I don't know what the heck they're thinking, okay? But I want to take a look and see. I have before said that it's going to happen, but I said it's going to be considerably less than the last one. But let's see if we can get a handle on what that's going to look like. Okay. You probably also heard that the leader of the Proud Boys was just sentenced to, I believe it was 5 months in jail for burning the Black Lives Matter flag. So this is the thing, right? The sentences are starting to come down. And we look at it and we go, well, geez, it's only 5 months, or it's only 10 months, or, or it was just a fine or whatever, right? But the reality is, if you're on that side of the fence, those are scary things for you, okay? Especially for people who really, I don't know, stumbled into it, okay? Also, there was just to touch on this briefly, because, energetically, right, I get impressions. I don't always need to read the cards to get information. The FBI came out, I think it was earlier this week, saying that, they hadn't found any direct connection between sort of government officials and the January 6th insurrection. And people are really upset by that. But you know what that means? Like, just step back for a second. And I believe it was Glenn Kushner who actually pointed this out. It means that, therefore, the story then becomes, oh, okay, well, if this wasn't pre-planned, that means that those people at that rally on the stage actually incited that behavior that day. And so it's not, and let's remember, the FBI deals in law, okay? It deals in charges. Now, I suspect that the committees that are investigating various things, they come at it from a slightly different perspective, right? Their perspective is what happened, who's responsible. And so it's not that they found these people innocent. I think what they found was that they didn't have enough evidence to make a charge that would stick, okay? So, all is not lost in that regard. All right. Here we go. Washington rally September, Washington rally September, Washington rally September. What do we have here? Okay, well, I'm going to start with the fact that these aren't exactly spectacular cards to get. Okay, so let's start here. You've got the 5 of Pentacles, you've got the 5 of Wands, you have the 3 of Pentacles, the 7 of Wands, the 5 of Swords, the 4 of Swords, and the Devil. So, if I was throwing a party, I wouldn't be very anxious to see these kinds of cards showing up. So, energetically, according to the cards, according to what I'm getting, is this thing's going to go ahead. There's going to be a lot of law enforcement presence. And that's going to frankly kind of intimidate some people because, as I said, the charges are starting to come out. Okay. People are getting sentenced. And I think that that's pouring a little bit of cold water on other people's enthusiasm. You have, you know what? It's just not good. So this is the thing. It's going to happen. I believe it's going to be smaller and less dramatic than the January situation was. I think there's going to be some people hurt, but not like again in January. And honestly, I have to tell you, it feels almost a little bit like it may not be law enforcement that's getting, that's on the receiving end of the injuries. There's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of posturing, but I don't actually see it coming to any sort of significant conclusion. It just feels like a lot of people, shaking their fists and threatening people and kind of, really trying to get in your face, that kind of energy. But I don't actually see it being successful because it's as if the energy is dissipating. He is starting to lose his stranglehold, in part because, the whole COVID situation is gone from bad to worse to just a complete disaster. And, again, it is being created, that wave is being created by people who believe that he spouts the gospel truth. And so that's where that resistance is coming from, and that's where that wave is really, really gaining crazy momentum. And so he is starting to lose that base a little bit. I mean, for God's sakes, can you imagine? They booed him. So who you have left is that small core of people who are going to believe that the sky is tangerine, if that's what he says. But from that group, there is also a little bit of a reluctance to really, really risk it all, okay? So, the White House, the law, got the Lovers, King of Cups. So again, this thing is going to go through. There's going to be a very strong presence by those who are trying to keep things safe. It is like, in some ways, sort of honestly, almost like a challenge between good and evil, okay? And you're going to have emotions that are sort of out of control, a little bit erratic, people kind of coming unglued, but it just doesn't feel as if they're going to be able to gain any kind of significant momentum. The strength is going to be where the strength needs to be, and those who are sort of not on the right side of history, their strength is going to be diminished because they're going to fall deeper and deeper into that crazy, crazy sense of illusion, all in servitude for him. And I just don't see it turning out well. I just am not getting any kind of a read that this is going to be a horrendous disaster. So it makes me wonder if this is or is not kind of the other cloud. So I might gonna have to I think I'll take a look at that kind of in that, first week or when I'm back. So, thank you. Just Thank you from my heart to yours. Enjoy the weekend. Take some time to rest. Take some time to decompress. And for God's sake, stay safe. Until next time, take care. Be well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.